move that while I'm live. Oh, cool. Okay, I'm gonna put it down here. Alrighty. Let me make my drink real quick because I am sleepy and yeah, I'm sleepy and I want to get into it with some energy. That's how tired I am. I need to get this open. Oh my gosh, there we go. I am making a little energy fizz, a little pomegranate one right there, so I can have a little boost of energy. 2 of your friends are live. Good for them. I'm glad. I love when my friends are live. I love it. Anyways, one of the things, actually the thing that we're going to talk about today is the journal prompt right down there, which I can't even read it anymore, but I think it says, who do I need to be in business? So I tried to do this last week twice, okay? Two times. I tried to do it once I tried to do it once on Thursday, and then TikTok did something funny, threw off the whole vibe at the end. So it did not, I didn't like how it ended. And then I tried to do it again on Friday, but the Wi-Fi was cutting out, and I didn't even know it was cutting out because it didn't tell me that it was cutting out. And so when I went to rewatch the clip, I recognized that there was it was all spotty, and I was like, well, that's pretty stupid. So we're gonna get it today. We're gonna do it. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk about the importance of writing for clarity in business, and then we're not gonna do the writing prompt together again. We're not gonna do the whole writing prompt again, but what I really want to be able to do is read you the prompt from Friday and then dissect it, because that's when it got real spotty on Friday. And like I said, I didn't even catch it because I would have paused the live and went somewhere else and done it again or whatever. So anyways, so that's what we're going to do today is we're going to recap on what happened, or recap the Friday, and then we are going to dissect the writing prompt, and I'm going to show you how intuitive writing can actually bring you a lot of clarity in your business, help you map out a business vision, things like that. And then we're going to learn to dissect it. Oh Jesus, I thought that was going to spill. And that's pretty much it. So give me 1 second. Let me get a drink of this. I get some energy, and let me get my notebook. Okay. I should have drank that before I came on. It's all good. So the thing with writing and using writing as an action. Let me do this. 1 second. I want this gone. Oh. Okay. I can't change it. Oh well. Okay. Writing and using writing as an action. So when we think about writing as an action, right? I talked last week about you get an idea, and when you get an idea, the first thing that you do with your idea, right, whether it's an idea for a new product, an idea for a live series, any business idea, you get the idea and then you make a plan. You make a writing plan for it. You write out the idea. So let's say you get an idea okay, you know what, I'm gonna go, I got the download. I'm gonna start going live 4 days a week in business, and I'm going to really go for it. I'm going to do these lives 4 times a week, and I'm going to start bringing more people into my corner, et cetera, right? So you get the idea to do the live. You get the idea to go live 4 times a week. After you have the idea, if you take it back to the flow chart that we had, you get the idea, and then after the idea, you write out a plan of action, right? And so what this type of writing would look like is this is a conscious style of writing. And so as you're writing consciously for your lives, it might be a matter of writing, what the live topics are going to be, right? What the themes for the week are going to be, what the lives are going to be about, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be the first writing plan, right? And then after you do that writing, then you go next into flow, into the implementation. And when you get to the implementation part, you might find some resistance. you might find like, okay, I had the idea, I wrote out my plan, now it's time to implement, and now there's resistance on this, and I'm resisting the implementation part of the process. I'm resisting the implementation part of the idea. Well, now you're in this resistance phase when you were so excited about the idea a bit ago. So now you come back and you're like, what is causing this resistance? Why am I not wanting to push forward, right? Like, where is this coming from? And so once you get to if you get to the resistance after you've made your conscious writing plan of action, well, then you can use writing again for more clarity in your business, and you can do what's called an intuitive style of writing. And so with the intuitive writing, you can then write out like, why am I resisting this? Or, what type of resistance is coming up for me, or something along those lines. Let me turn this off. And then you write the question out at the top of the page, and then you free flow write. And as you free flow write, and all of these, you get to see all of these thoughts come up that are coming up from the subconscious mind, okay? So now you're in this state of flow, right? This is where writing for clarity in business is cyclical. And so what happens is you get an idea, you write your plan of action for your idea. You go to the implementation part of the idea, and then you feel resistance in the implementation part. Well, then you bring out writing again, but this time in a subconscious manner. So then with the subconscious style of writing, you write the question at the top of the page. Like I said, why am I feeling resistance? What is it that I'm resisting? What about this plan is making me nervous, right? Something along those lines. Then you go and you write in a free flow style of writing, and you keep writing for at least 5 minutes until you get everything out. When you do this and you write in a way that brings everything out from the subconscious, well, now you can pick apart what you need to move through, which is what I'm going to show you here in a bit. You can pick apart what it is that you need to move through, and you can either release them in another writing practice, and that is a physical thing to write again. That's the action. You're taking the action to release. You can either reword or restructure the beliefs. So as you restructure the belief system, you can take what was maybe an old belief and turn it into a new belief, transform it into a new belief, which I'll show you how to do in a bit. Or you can figure out like what it is that you need to embrace, right? You've figured out what you needed to release. And so after you release it, now you could made room to embrace something new, and you would embrace the opposite of what you needed to release. So let's say what you need to release is like the fear of rejection going on live, for instance. Well, you can figure out how to release that, rewrite the story, and then now you can embrace like acceptance, or you can embrace, knowing that whatever you do, the right people will see you. And so this is where writing in business, like I said, it becomes cyclical, and it is a tool for clarity. The more you do this, I don't want to say the less you'll have to do it, but it won't be as frequent in terms of like, well, oh my gosh, if every time I get an idea, I'm going to have to write. No, it won't work like that. What's going to happen then is you'll start to see your patterns. And when you start to see your patterns, then you can pause and you can recognize the patterns as they come up as you move along in your business, as you continue to grow in business. And so I'll give you an example. So one of the patterns that comes up for me when I know that it is ego talking and not necessarily intuition talking is I get into this state of like, I don't know, right? And so what comes up for me is the idea of like, oh, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to create. I don't know what to say in the DMs, right? Like anytime I get into that phase, that state of thinking I don't know, I know that always happens right before a breakthrough. I learned that through writing. I learned that through recognizing patterns, right? And I was able to recognize the patterns through writing. So you will figure out what it is for you the more you do it. And then the more you do it, you don't necessarily have to write on it every single time because you can move through it quicker. So pivoting a little bit, last week, when my Wi-Fi was all spotty, and I didn't even know my Wi-Fi was all spotty, what we ended up doing was an intuitive writing prompt. And when we did this prompt, we had 2 last week. The first one was, how do I want my business to run, right? And so we wrote out all of the ways that we want to run our business. We wrote out exactly how we envision it, right, for the future. And then the next day we came back and we said, who do I need to become in business? That was the intuitive writing prompt of last week. And it's still written right here at the bottom in this block down here, right? Who do I need to become in business? And so this is where the Wi-Fi cut out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you my intuitive writing prompt. We wrote on this for 7 minutes. And so I'm going to read you mine, and I'm going to show you how you can take what is in here and create new writing prompts out of this to either do a release or uncover what needs to be uncovered, or, you know, whatever it is that needs to happen. And so a little bit of vulnerability, but let's get into it. Who do I need to become in business? In business, I need to become the woman who has strong boundaries and keeps her word to herself. I need to release fear of rejection and recognize that I have something that came from above and serves a purpose. I need to be someone who is proud of her business and doesn't shy away from telling people. I need to be okay with being misunderstood and not allow myself to be triggered by other people misunderstanding. I need to be honorable. I need to allow myself to be seen as a teacher and seek those who want to learn. I need to be someone who shows up every day, which means I dress as if I had to be on camera. I need to be someone who fuels my body and doesn't let my business take over my life, but rather fuel my life. I need to be someone who remembers my why and my big vision. I need to be someone who doesn't neglect the 3D, but enjoys the steps. Misunderstandings die with consistency. Doubt dies with consistency. Uncertainty dies with consistency. I need to be someone who remains consistent. I need to be constantly learning in order to be forever teaching. I need to stay on course and uninfluenced by outside circumstances. So when we did the writing last week, that was mine. So that's what came through for me. So if I were to take this and if I read this the way I just did, I can pinpoint like, okay, this is the message that came through for me on who I need to become in business, right? This is what I need to do in business. Now, from here, what 2 things stood out at me the most, right? And it's important that you pick what stood out at you the most right after you do it, because if you wait too long, sometimes it doesn't stick out as good. And I'm doing this part off of memory because when I reread it, something different stuck out. But for the sake of what we did last week, this is what stuck out. So releasing fear of rejection was the big thing that stuck out. And then the second thing was being okay with being misunderstood and not allowing myself to be triggered by other people's misunderstandings. So what I could do with something like this, right? Release fear of rejection. I can turn that into another journal prompt. I can release the fear of rejection right there in that prompt. So I can, let's see. The opposite of rejection would be to be seen, right? If you're not being rejected, you're being embraced. So I could write out that I release the fear of rejection. I could write out that I embrace, you know, the idea of being seen, things like that, right? And I could do it like that. If I wanted to take it a step further, I could which is probably what I would do, is I would find out why, like, where is the fear of rejection stemming from? So I would write at the top of the page, why do I fear rejection? Or why do I fear rejection in business? Okay, so I would write that at the top of the page. And as I write that at the top of the page, I would do another stream of conscious style writing like what we had done. And I would write for another like 5 to 10 minutes about all of the reasons that I see like a fear of rejection, right? So now I can understand where the fear is stemming from. And from that, I can either take the belief and restructure it, rewrite it for a new belief. I can write there like I release whatever fears pop up, right? I could write them all right there. And then at the same time would say like, and I embrace whatever the opposite of those things are. I want you to think of a coin. If you think of a coin, there are 2 sides to the same coin, right? There's heads and there's tails. And so I want you to think of everything that you're releasing from your writings as the tails. And then when you go back to embrace, because once you've let it out, there's room for new. Once you go into embrace it, if you were to flip that coin and see the heads, what is the heads part of the embrace, right? What is the heads part that you would that you can bring in? So that's one thing I would do, since that stuck out at me, is, you know, releasing the fear of rejection and everything that comes along with it, and then rewriting those beliefs. Now, the other thing that stood out at me was being okay with being misunderstood and not allowing myself to be triggered by other people misunderstanding. So again, I would take that and I would ask myself like, why are misunderstandings triggering? I might ask myself, like, list all of the times I felt misunderstood. That one would be powerful. That one's also going to take, like, I would do that one for 10 minutes, because it's going to take you a little bit of time to break through that conscious thought and get into the subconscious, because a lot of our memories are stored beneath the surface. But that would be a really good one. And then again, once I see what comes up, I can rework all of those beliefs. I can understand, like, okay, this is what's triggering. I'm not actually triggered by being misunderstood, but I'm triggered by, something else that feels like being misunderstood, right? And so I could rework it that way. One of the other cool things about this is, in this one in particular, a message came through. And so I can pinpoint what that message is. So when I did this writing, a message came through, and I'll share with you exactly what the message was. And so when it came to, one of the big things that stood out was, like, not allowing yourself to be triggered by being misunderstood. But then it told me at the end, or I should say, at the end, misunderstandings die with consistency. Doubt dies with consistency. Uncertainty dies with consistency. So all of these things that are in the background and are making me nervous, about whatever's going on in business or whatever, it's giving me the answer that the consistency is what is actually going to, like, get rid of all of those beliefs or kill those beliefs. So I also know, taking it back to our prompt of who do I need to become in business? Well, I have to be more consistent. And as I continue to be more consistent, then all of these other things are going to fade away. You see what I mean? So it's a very powerful technique when it's used properly. Another thing that stood out for this one would be, fueling my body, be someone who is, get dressed as someone who's okay, as if I was going to be on camera that day, right? Like, so thinking of, like, from a content creator standpoint, like, if I was going to turn everything into a piece of content, or if I was going to be the face of the business, which I am, then obviously, like, I would want to present myself as that. Now I'm pretty, like, cozy anyways, so that's not going to change. Like, I'm gonna be a cozy business owner. You know what I mean? Let's see what else sticks out. Remembers my why and my big mission. So something like that, if that comes through for you and you have a hard time, like, remembering why you started, like, that right there is key. If you're ever feeling a sense of, like, doubt or uncertainty, or, like, what am I doing, like, always taking it back to the why and to the big vision, right? That was, like, that was a message for, who I need to become in business, someone who remembers the why and the big vision. For something like that, if that comes through for you, which I've noticed comes through for quite a bit of people, what I would do is, how when you go to corporate and people have cubicles, there's, like, pictures of their family in the cubicles, because, they're always like, oh, well, I need to remember who I'm doing this for, et cetera, et cetera. I would do the same thing. Like, put your why in places that you can see it, so that it's a constant reminder. Because even if you're not actively looking for it, if you're not actively, like, searching for the why around you and stuff, you would still be coming in subconsciously. And the whole idea about this style of writing, once we get back past the conscious side of things, is to rework that subconscious brain, because that subconscious brain is actually what's running the show and what's running, all of everything in the background, and what is making us, like, it's making us operate the way we operate, right? And so knowing how to get into the subconscious and rewriting those beliefs is how we actually evolve. And it's when we don't do this work and we don't evolve, we stay on these old beliefs. And I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it again right here. The adults who don't do the work are operating on beliefs they had when they were children. And that is why you see a lot of adults operating as if they were, like, a child, right? They throw tantrums like they were a kid. They get mad at certain things like they did when they were a child, because they never reworked the subconscious. They never fed the subconscious some new information and new beliefs. So everything that they have came from when they were 7 years old, and it's what the parents have passed down. You know what I mean? And then if the parents didn't do the work, then they passed it on from the grandparents, and so on and so forth. So for all you know, you could be sitting here with these beliefs that actually stem from, like, 1902, right? And it's 2025. You see what I mean? And so it's like, if you're sitting there with these old beliefs, like, how are you ever going to evolve? The beliefs that you have stem from over a century ago. And that sounds extreme, but when you research and look into, like, how different DNA works and how how these beliefs are passed down and how it's structured into the DNA strand and stuff. We all have these within our DNA, and then more so within the subconscious. The DNA stuff that I should do a live on that. I might do a live on that one day because it's very fascinating. But the subconscious stuff, like I said, if nobody's changing these beliefs, if nobody's questioning the beliefs, well, then they're just getting passed down and passed down and passed down. That's why you hear these things like, I need to break the generational curses. Okay, you want to break the generational curses, that's good, but you cannot break anything if you're not going to rewire the belief system, because then the belief system is just coming from what's been passed down from the generations before you. The curse is there because nobody has questioned the belief system. You see what I mean? Like, you have to break it. So that's how you would break it. And again, taking it back to writing, how do you get into that? You get into writing. Intuitive writing, bringing it back to business. Intuitive writing is really good for business in a number of ways. And so, I've talked about the flow, right? And you receive the idea, and then from the idea, you write the plan of action. From the plan of action, you do the implementation. And then from the implementation, if you feel resistant, you bring it back to this intuitive writing that we just talked about. But the other reason that this intuitive writing works in business, aside from just the action stuff, is when you embark on this journey of entrepreneurship and you decide to, be a business owner, and especially like this day and age, if you're going to be an online business owner, there's a whole journey that you embark on, right? There's like a whole spiritual journey that comes to play with it. And there are a lot of beliefs you have to rework, even if you come from a background of entrepreneurs. So I'm going to give you an example, right? Of two, because I've got both. If you come from a background of corporate workers, you come from a background where, your family has told you, work hard, go to school, get a good job, work hard, and you can make a living, right? And then you did that and you're like, this is not what I want to do. I don't like this. Well, you have to unlearn those beliefs. You have to unlearn the belief that only a job can provide you a stable paycheck, right? Because that's what you have been taught for decades. And once you release that belief and show yourself new evidence, then you're more confident in your journey in entrepreneurship, right? That's one of the things about rewiring beliefs if you come from that background. Now, there's a secondary piece. You could come from a background of entrepreneurs. However, if we're looking at service provider entrepreneurs doing, the work online versus brick and mortar entrepreneurs from the 60s, hell, we don't even have to go back that far, from the 90s and the early 2000s, before the internet really took over, even that looks different, because I come from a family of business owners. And the thing about the family of business owners that I come from is it was still working to survive, right? They still had to work to survive. And so, yes, I had the upper hand in terms of coming from the belief that you can run a business and you can absolutely operate a business. But one of the things that then I had to release was the idea that an online business is going to operate the same way as a brick and mortar business, that in order for this to work, like that, it would have to run like that. And running like that means missing birthday parties, missing holidays, missing out on living, to be honest. Like, that's really kind of what it comes down to, is missing out on certain aspects of living, because you have to physically be present to keep the store open. So the belief was always like, yeah, you can run a business, but entrepreneurship is very hard. It's going to suck the life out of you, and you're going to have to be at it every single day. Well, now some people have to unwire, undo those beliefs and bring in new beliefs, because running a business in 2025 is not the same as running a business in 2005. In 2025, you can get on your phone like this, you can go live, you can talk to hundreds of people at once, and then you can go on about your day. What you're doing is still circulating. You don't necessarily have to be present from the traditional 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, hours or whatever. You don't have to be there from open to close. Everything can be automated. They didn't have that in 2005. And so that is another thing where we have to redo these beliefs. And so this is where the writing comes in. This is where the intuitive writing comes in, is being able to understand where these beliefs stem from, or not in, it doesn't, I retract that statement. You don't have to understand where they stem from. You just have to understand what they are, what the belief is. Okay. So this is where intuitive writing allows you to understand where or what the belief is, so that you can rewrite the belief to match the present day. You see what I mean? You follow? So if the belief comes from a business owner that raised me in 2005 that says you have to be there all day long, or you know what I mean, it's never going to take off. Well, I have to bring that and get rid of that and bring in the new belief of 2025, which is, yes, I have to show up every day, but at the same time, it doesn't take as long as it did in 2005, because like I said, you can get on here and you can speak to the masses at once. You see, like that's just an example of like how the beliefs, they have to evolve. They have to evolve as you evolve, right? And in order for that to happen, you have to pinpoint what the belief is so that you can release it to let the new one come to play. So those are just some things around around belief systems, and using the writing to be able to bring that clarity into your business, right? And so bringing it into your business also brings the clarity into your life. I don't plan on starting a business, but I really like what you're saying about writing and beliefs. Thank you. And you know what? It's not even just for business. My audience, like I talk to business owners because that is who my business helps, but it doesn't even have to be just for business. Like you can really do this just to evolve yourself as a person. You know what I mean? Like you can take these beliefs that have been passed down to you, and evolve yourself as a person with them, and, you know, use writing to just become brand new and to pass on, you know, lay the foundation for a new generation, so to speak. So even if you're not in business, I appreciate that, you know, you said that. But yeah, I mean, it's just if you don't question the belief system, if you don't challenge the belief system, then again, you could potentially just be operating on beliefs that, you know, come from the early 1900s, and we're like, you know, a quarter century into the 2000s. Like it's a whole different millennia. We're in like left the age of Pisces, we're in the age of Aquarius. Like times have shifted. Writing is a useful tool for self-improvement. Absolutely. That's how I got started. That is literally, I got started writing because I was so angry at the world when I was a teenager. And well, okay, let me take it back. I got started writing way before that. I really liked it. And then when I was a teenager, like I was just always so mad, and I used writing as a release tool. And but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just writing down like these lyrics or whatever, because I always wanted to I used to want to be a singer. Not anymore. But anyways, and so I would use writing like that, like as a way to release. And then it wasn't until years later, and then I used it like poetry and through addiction and all of that, and it wasn't until years later that I looked back and I realized like, oh, okay, this is actually like beneficial. This is actually a really good tool. And then when I did get into entrepreneurship about 6 years ago, officially, then I brought writing into everything that I did. And yeah, it was a whole journey and stuff like that. But it did start as a releasing tool, and then it has evolved. And then now, like, the big thing that I do is teach on intuitive writing to change the belief system so that other people can evolve, because it really is like, it's a powerful thing. Anywho, that about sums up today in terms of writing and the beliefs. I should be able to come on here tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to discuss affirmations and what I mean by affirmations, because I don't believe affirmations, they don't work the way that they're taught in terms of like the I am this and I am that and stuff. And so tomorrow we're going to discuss writing affirmations and getting into affirmations through the chakras, right? So the different affirmations to work with the different chakras, and then using those different chakras to manifest with certain laws of the universe. So we'll cover the law of assumption and the law of attraction. So we're going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow. I'm going to outline that a little more tonight. And then if you want, let me think. So I just got the subscriber thing feature. So you can subscribe to my TikTok. I do dive more into like writing in like a behind the scenes way. So there's some writing prompts that I drop in there. There's some intuitive writing things like for personal development and personal growth, as well as business growth that go into that. If you want to join my newsletter is the spiritual side of entrepreneurship. That one covers all of the spiritual / mindset things. It's not mindset per se. It's more so about how mindset is spiritual. So that is all over on the newsletter side of things. If you want to learn how to uncover your own, like your future self, rewrite your past beliefs, and ground into the present, I do have a mini course entitled Intuitive Writing Mastery. That one is for anybody, and it guides you through intuitive writing. I give you prompts plus guided meditations within that. And then the last piece is if you are an entrepreneurial woman and you want to go on a transformation, I do have one-on-one spots available. So DM me. I have some 6-week intensives open and we can chat about it. But until next time, I will see you all tomorrow to talk about, like I said, the affirmations, and then we'll get into all of that, and then I'll have details on the masterclass that I'll be hosting. Anyways, thank you all for joining. Bye.